I'm not even really staying within the lines. That's the beauty of having the hatching. Now that hatching that we've been doing, that is not the only way, of course, to do this. There are many ways, and at the beginning of the term we looked at a bunch of different line techniques. So just know that you don't have to, for this assignment you have to, but because I needed some technique that was logical, that you could use your logic to follow, because those are the easiest to follow, the easiest to learn. They're less intuitive and more logical, is what I mean. So that when you leave the course, you'll have one technique that you can rely on. This is stainless steel, so we have to wet this with our one first. Now I don't want any white on this because it will compete with my island and it will compete with my tabletop, so I don't want any white. So I'm getting it wet with this, and then I'm going to use the 3, and I'm going to put a little bit of value over top, and I'm doing it sideways because all the countertops are sideways. Everything in the room is like that, horizontal. So the reflections in the fridge have to be horizontal also. Now the countertops below are quite dark. I'm trying to put this inside the 3, not the 1, but the 3. I'm trying to get this, but I'm also trying to blend it. That will make it look more like steel if I can blend it. And we'll go back and do more with our colored pencil, but I'm trying to make this look like steel. So it has there. I'll put a little bit, there's a dark, a little bit of dark here. Okay, we can go back and fix that up. And then now with this, it's what we have to do here is make a gradual value. So I want it to look lit up in the center here. So I go from the corner, I go not just once. Remember, you never just go once, you go several times because you're wetting the paper. That's your whole job there, is wetting the paper. Then with the 3, I put that inside the 1. I don't put it on its own, I put it inside. So that looks like it's getting light in the middle. Now I go up from the bottom, and this time I'm using the 3 because it's closer to a darker surface, and the center looks lit up, and here and the center looks lit up, and I can use some of the 1 to blend that in. And the 5, I need the 5 to set it up so that it's inside the 3 that I put on, not at the edge of it. Otherwise it won't look shiny. Okay, so that's that. I can use some of the 5 under some of this. There, I can use that, and a little bit over on this side. And now inside the glass we have all these bottles, so they're going to make sort of a, it's dark in there, it's not bright, so we're gonna make that dark and even darker with a little bit of shadow. So you see, everything we're doing in the back is leaning toward the dark, and everything we do here on our focus, we're going to try to maintain our lights. And as I've been working, everything I worked on is looking lighter than when I started. So markers tend to get, when they dry, they look lighter, so you've got to go back. Now this is shadow, and this is shadow. I'm going to go back now and have a look at reinforcing some of the things I have in the light. This is a 10, so I'm going to just reinforce that a little bit and maybe reinforce this a little bit. I didn't want to go too dark there too quickly, and I want this to taper off, so. And remember, we're trying a little bit of this instead of going in circles. Since we had that square on our ceiling, we're looking at putting up some strokes that go this way on the ceiling instead. Back here, doesn't have to be light. That whole sink area, we know what it is. We don't need to look at that. It's not an important thing for us to look at. So I can just let that taper off, and this I'm letting taper off. And this is dangerous. I should really be using a straight piece of card, or at the very least a set square to do that correctly. So here I'm putting this in, and this can be darker than, I want this to be a little darker in this corner, so it sets up. We went from dark to light this way, now dark to light this way, and I can put something here. If I wanted to, I could even put a little hint of a shadow here, although I don't think there would be one. It helps to set this up. Now the clock, remember, we don't want to do very much with it, so I might just throw a little value on it so it doesn't look foreign, and put some value over this window. I'm not going to delineate it. So put that in, and this I put in, but it's gotten so light I can't even see it now. So I need another coat, and I need to make it straight. Don't allow it to be crooked. And this underside would have some shadow, so I might put that in with the 3. Might be a little shadow there. And the flowers, we can hint a little bit at them, and their shadow. And this backsplash, it's going to compete. We better make that not too light, or it will compete with our island and our countertop. So you can see that setting this up at the start with all that hatching has made this much easier than it would have been otherwise. So we're just kind of selecting where to go a little bit darker and where to go a little bit lighter. Now we've got these shadows out here, and we're going to start our cast shadows with a 3. And got our toe kicks here. I think maybe this might look good if it were, I know it isn't, it's in the light, it's in front of the light, but I don't think it would hurt to put that in. And we've got this shadow, this is the 3, and we've got all of this shadow, this is the 3 as well. And I'm starting with the 3 because I want to gradually work my way up to something darker, but I don't know how dark I want it to get, so I'm just testing the waters here. And this, and there's a little bit of shadow on either side here. There's always some shadow in front of things, and I'm putting this I could put in more effectively as verticals would be better. And I'm gonna join it up with this. And so our concept is holding true. We've left areas that are definitely white. We've got those isolated now. This light, this light, this light, this light. The person, I've left her white. I've left the top of the island, my 2 stools. But now with my 3, I can start to map out the floor a little bit. I'm just pulling that along. I don't want a dark floor, and I want to vary it, so I'm using a little want to taper it off. You don't want to fill it all in. I'm just curious to see, sometimes if you don't put any detail, something will have attention. So I thought maybe just that little bit of, and the more you get filled in, the easier it is to make these decisions. So you do what sets up this focus. That's your job, and it's intuitive as well as logical. So you have to play around with it a little bit. There are no hard and fast rules, as you know. So you just, now I've got my 5, so I'm going a little bit darker on some of my shadows. This being my focus, I can go a little bit darker here. And the markers respond to the weight of your hand. So I'm trying, it looks like I'm gouging here, but I'm not gouging, I'm just not quite pressing. So I want that to taper off to nothing, so it's the same color as the floor, but the hatching tells me it's shadow. This I'm going to leave alone. I don't want to mess with that shadow. And this shadow would be darkest right about there, so I can put that in. And I'm going to put a little bit of value on this banquette. I'm going to let that go from dark to light, and this go from dark to light, and this go from dark to light this way. I don't want a big harsh shadow here. It will look like a hole in the banquette. So now we do have a lot of shadow up here, so I'm using the 3 again here. I'm going to try and keep my stools as light as I can make them for as long as I can keep them that way. And then I'll go with the 5. Now I haven't used the 7 at all. I'm keeping that for dark accents. So if this goes from dark to light that way, and the toe kick can go from dark to light that way, this can go that way. Okay, and I might put a little shadow under this just to give it a, and once you get confident, you can start to create all sorts of design shapes with your marker, but I'm trying not to do too much of that so that it doesn't, is that's a more intuitive approach. I'm trying to give you a logical approach. In the beginning, a logical approach makes life a little easier. So